Good morning, you guys. Welcome back to Rocket City Yardstead. We're going to be out in the garden today. Isn't she looking lovely? I'm just enjoying all of the lush green and being out here. The main thing on my to-do list today is something that I have been really bad about this year. I need to take care of all of my tomato plants. They are just overgrown and dangly, and I need to tie them up and get them secured to the trellis, thin them out a little bit. Ooh, tomatoes. In addition to getting my tomato plants all pruned up, I also need to deal with these couple of kale plants. They do not taste good anymore. They are definitely bitter. And so my tomatoes would be a lot happier if there was no giant kale in their way. Last year, I had a kale plant that I went to take it out and I thought I pulled it out, but I guess I did the others and not this one and left the root system in. We started getting into cooler weather. That kale plant came back and it had really delicious kale all through this past winter. So I'm hoping that I can do that with these kale plants. I'm just going to try and cut them back down to the ground level and hope that they will make a resurgence once the temperatures start cooling off later in the year. I did want to show you the tomato clips I'm using because I just want to make clear I'm using these because I have a box full of them. They close up like this. They have a little clip on them. There's a spot if you're using string that the string goes through. I just don't want you guys to think I'm recommending these. I'm only using them because I have this full box. I don't know how well it's going to come through. I tried to get one that was still fully intact, but this is one of last year's. And I don't know, like I said, how well it comes through. But this one that's brand new and hasn't been outside, it's still sort of see-through. This one has become really opaque and it just crumbles in your hand. And I don't love that they're a plastic thing that really only lasts 1 year. If they happen to be shaded well, they stay more like this guy. But we're in the south. This is a south facing wall. They are in the sun all the time. So I have a lot of brittle, broken plastic tomato clips. I need to find something else to use once I run out of these, but I don't want to waste something I already purchased. So we're still going to use them this year and honestly probably the next few years because I think I bought a box of about 1,000 of these. I do absolutely need to do some pruning on these plants, but I thought maybe my best option was going to be to go through and find what's actually tall enough to clip to the trellis, and I would prune things that haven't quite gotten that big yet. Part of the issue is just we have had so much rain that finding the time to get out here and do all the things has been kind of hard. I am very excited about all the flowers on these plants though. If you happened to be with me last year, or you've gone back and watched any old videos, you probably have seen I had a problem last year that I think was probably some kind of nutrient deficiency. My tomatoes were setting flowers, but they were not making fruit. The flowers were just falling off. And we were not ridiculously hot at that point. Ooh. See, guys, this was a brand new one that just broke in half. But we hadn't gotten to the temperatures where they should have been aborting their flowers. So it was very kind of confusing what was going on. But we fertilized them midsummer and they started setting fruit. So that was a big part of why I did that soil testing that we sent off this year. The only thing it told me was missing when we did that was the nitrogen. So we have amended that, and these plants look fantastic. I'm pretty sure I showed you guys my Cherokee purple in a different video, but we got to take a look at it. This was the first tomato plant I planted this year. I bought it because my homegrown one dropped all of its leaves, and it has just gotten way out of hand. I don't think I can get a lot of it back to the trellis, and as much as it kills me to do it, because look, there's a tomato, I think I'm going to have to prune a whole lot of this off that's over the walkway, just because it's not going to have any support where it is. That stinks, but it's 100% my fault for not training it like I should have. All right, my friends, we are about to give the tomatoes a big haircut. I have a cup of water with some hydrogen peroxide in it. If you didn't see the video with my sister-in-law, we're going to dip our pruners in that so that we can try and make sure we're not spreading any disease. I am just going to start taking things off of these plants. I do think, like, this is a really nice little sucker, and I think I might try and root it because I have room for a couple more tomatoes now that I have pulled my potato plants out. And I think it would be really nice to have a couple more. These in particular are, my brain is frozen. These are my paste tomatoes. So I'd love to have more paste tomatoes that we could make canned things from. It just feels so wrong. It's easier if they're dangling on the ground. Then I know they really need to come off. But I think this plant is done. So that was a pretty substantial haircut there. Friends, I'm finding that I just can't bring myself to be quite as brutal as I had planned on. I'm going to show you this one plant. I have already pruned it back so much, but I just can't be as brutal as I think I probably should be. And I'm going to show it to you. This plant just has 3 incredibly healthy branches that are coming up. There's flowers right here on one of them. There's flowers over here. Back there. Let's see if I can zoom and you can see. Do you see that tomato? And then on that same branch, there's more flowers up higher. I think we're going to have to call this level of pruning good because I just can't bring myself to cut all of that off. It still has so much more airflow, which is going to be really good because starting next week, I think we're going to hit the low 90s. Our humidity is in the 70, 80, 90 percentile sometimes. And so they need airflow. That is the major key here. I actually am so shocked at how healthy these plants look because of how wet it's been and how dense they've been. So I want to get in here and make sure they keep looking healthy. Y'all, before I moved on to my next tomato, I wanted to get the kale all cut back. And you have to see the stalk on this one kale plant. This one is pretty substantial, but that one back there is just huge. Look at what I just spotted in here. This beautiful cluster of sungolds. Very excited to see those. I think the plant actually has a few of them. I'm going to have to find my big pruners, but cutting those kales back made so much airflow here in between my tomatoes. And I think this tomato plant in particular is really going to benefit from those being gone. I'm working on pruning on this black crim plant, and buried in all of the foliage was these 2 beautiful tomatoes. That's awesome. I got all the way to the Cherokee purple down here at the end. I managed to get some more of those branches tied up and then did a pretty heavy pruning. It's still it is still fairly bushy, but down here low, you can see I got it nice and cleaned out. Less branches. There's some up here. That biggest one I found, I managed to attach to a different trellis. So I did not have to cut this little tomato off. I figure since we walked down the row of tomatoes before, we should do it again now, and you can see how much sparser these plants look. I think all of the airflow is going to be really good for all of these plants. I still have to find the big loppers, but those will be fine for now. And look, in just a day or two, we're going to be eating some Sweet 100 cherry tomatoes. I can't remember if I've showed you guys this yet or not, but I have a volunteer, I think there's maybe a couple of them, rattlesnake pole bean growing on this trellis where my cucumbers are supposed to be. And they're just so lovely. The flowers are so beautiful. Look, there's a bean. I want to show you this in case anybody is tempted to be like me. Oh, this one got broken off. That makes me really sad. Look. Oh, so you guys can see here all of this basil. I made a grave judgment and error, and I'm just going to be honest about it. I let these basils stay. Part of me thought I would transplant them somewhere else, but I just have a hard time pulling volunteer plants. But I have cherry tomatoes planted here in the middle of this stuff, and I was noticing yesterday, day before when I was out here, that one of them is getting really sickly because it just has no breathing room. And so we're gonna have to pull a whole lot of these basils out to even get to the cherry tomato. The volunteers are so tempting to leave, you know. Ooh, well, there's a cherry tomato ripening down in here that I couldn't even see, you guys. So let me be your cautionary tale. Don't let your plants get crowded. So here you can see this poor tomato's getting some fungal stuff on it because it just couldn't breathe. I don't know if it's a good idea, but I am going to go ahead and take this one as well because you can see it's not looking great. So it's only got a few leaves here up at the top. It does have another branch. Oh, there we go. I'm going to for sure take that one. Look at how sad that is. And just get as much of the unhealthy growth off of here as we can. That has tomatoes, but it just doesn't look good. So in order to save the whole plant, I think it's better to just sacrifice those tomatoes. And now I need to go through, ooh, you guys. This is what happens when you let things get too overgrown. You miss the sun gold tomatoes. These are the first ripe ones of the season. They were buried down there in that basil. I can't remember if I ever showed you guys last year. This is not the most sophisticated method of trellising tomatoes here, but I'm trying to take advantage of all of the space I have. And so I just have some wire run between this cattle panel and the next. And then I have twine that runs down, and I will attach those cherry tomatoes to the twine. Here is a good place to show you how those clips do work on the string. So there are actually teeth that grab it. You can kind of see there. When you close it, it pinches the string and keeps your clip from sliding. I like how they work. I just don't like how quickly they break down. So there we go. We've got that one tied up. Do any of you have tomato clips that you really love? Or any way of trellising, really? I'm not committed to a clip. I just want something that will help hold my plants up where we actually want them. I think I will come out here with a spray bottle and some hydrogen peroxide diluted in water and give this plant a good spray to try and make sure it stays good and healthy. While we've been out here today, I've been noticing, and I thought I would show you guys, one of the benefits of all this rain we've been having this year is my chives are still blossoming. I can't remember a year where I had chive blossoms in the middle of June. They're normally well done by this point, but aren't they beautiful? Y'all, the last tomatoes we need to work on today are my Heat Masters. And these are a little bit different. These are a determinate tomato. And so we don't actually want to prune off things like suckers from these, but we do want to make sure and get the foliage that's down low. With all this heavy rain, this foliage is really dirty. It's got dirt splashing up on it, and that's just a breeding ground for disease. So we're gonna work on getting branches from down low off. This one has some flowers. I'm still gonna sacrifice it just because I wanna do my best to make sure the plant stays healthy. And even right down at the base, there's some new little branches trying to grow. So we're just gonna get anything that's too close to the ground. And I think that's about it. Maybe this one. But can you guys see the tomatoes? I'm really excited about this. I counted the other day and there were, I think I counted 12 tomatoes on this plant. And it's just covered in blossoms. We're gonna get quite the harvest off of these 2 Heat Master plants I have. The other one has tomatoes as well. Here's what the Heat Masters look like now that they've been pruned. You can see the tops, they're just totally full. I've left them alone. When we get down here to the bottom, and we've gotten stuff away from the soil. It's true of this other one as well. Just got everything away from soil level. Since we're out here, you guys, the basil has grown even more around our fig tree. That fertilizer's really just helped. And look at all of the tomatillo husks on this plant. Ooh, and a honeybee. I don't know if he actually got in the shot, but there are just so many husks. Hopefully we're going to have a great tomatillo harvest. And because I can't help myself, my butternut squashes are looking great, and they're starting to put on curlicues and climb. See if we can help it a little bit. The loofah is still really going for it. And I've actually spotted some little baby female loofah flowers. Let me see if I can find one for you. It's kind of hiding behind this trellis. Do you see it right there? I'm very excited about the loofah since this is the first time I've grown it. And I had started to worry about it, but not anymore. It's looking fantastic. Growing like crazy. So I think it's going to cover this trellis and be really beautiful. But anyway, that's where we're at today, guys. We've got all kinds of things growing in this garden. I think maybe we'll come back in a few days and film like a whole garden tour, and you can just see how everything is progressing. But thanks for hanging out with me while I prune my tomatoes today. Hope maybe you found something helpful, and I'm just glad you guys were here. I'll see you next time. Bye.